uh, that notwithstanding massive geopolitical upheaval, notably in the Middle East, and of course the ongoing war in Ukraine, that the markets have proved remarkably resilient, and particularly the American market. Um, I suspect that we're in for a different ride next year, but there have been some positive developments during the year from a market point of view and from master investors' point of view, and not so positive developments. Well, I've been very bullish on gold, as regular listeners or viewers will know, and I remain so. And I think that gold, particularly now with the likely breakdown of the US dollar, could easily go to $2,500 an ounce in the coming year, which represents a very good rate of return, even if you factor in dollar depreciation for investors who hold gold and gold miners. And so I've been upping my gold exposure. And I think the same for silver, which has the makings of a really big upside in terms of its trajectory, because silver is an industrial metal and there is just not enough silver around. So gold, silver, big opportunities for next year. I've liked the what I call UK bond proxy stocks. Those are the ones with big dividend yields, and they're recently showing signs of significant life. So, to give you an example, Lloyd's Bank with a prospective dividend yield of nearly 7%, HSBC with about 6% dividend yield, plus very, very large buybacks of its own common stock over the next couple of years. Something like Phoenix Group, which is the biggest consolidator of life companies and pension plans in the UK and has a remarkable yield. And then I also like, which is a bit more illiquid, but nonetheless very interesting, Doric Nimrod funds, which hold Airbuses on behalf of Emirates Airlines. They've mostly paid down all their debt. They're yielding something like 16%. And I think there's a reasonably good residual value in those companies. So those sort of bond proxy stocks I really like at the moment. I continue to like Japan, and we have to imagine that Japan's stock market, given the huge amount of savings in the Japanese economy and the fact that the interest rates are going to rise in Japan, in fact, are rising, and therefore you're going to see a stronger yen. I think the Japanese market could go up another 20% in the next year. And from a currency point of view, I really like the Japanese yen. I've liked it for a while. It hasn't until recently proved to be a good recommendation. But as you probably know, the Japanese yen has been soaring against the US dollar in recent weeks. And at the current level of about 141 to the US dollar, or nearly 142 to the US dollar, I think it could easily go to 130 over the next year, which again represents what I would call a safe and predictable and decent return for investors. So yeah, there are great opportunities out there, and but I also think we've got some pitfalls. Well, I remain extremely committed and bullish on the novel food industry. Agronomics, which is our listed vehicle, has now got a NAV that's around 17 pence a share. We launched it just under 4 years ago with an NAV of 5 pence a share. So it's done remarkably well in terms of its net asset value. It sells at a significant discount, as indeed do all venture capital funds, to its intrinsic net asset values. I think I really like that company, and I like the sector. We're going to see the precision fermentation products, particularly in dairy and in eggs, come onto the market in fairly large quantity over the next few years. I also like nuclear fusion, and or better put, as fusion, since there is not that much nuclear about it. And I am writing a book at the moment about that for investors along the lines of my previous books. I think that has the capacity of generating almost unlimited energy in 10, 20 years' time at very low cost. And the UK, believe it or not, is the world leader in that industry. I'm trying to find ways in which we collectively can invest in the industry. And I hope at Master Investor in March 2024 that, first of all, you'll all be there as usual. And secondly, that I'll have some ideas on how we can invest in Fusion by then to outline to the audience. Well, everything's changing very quickly. We know that, for instance, I was very negative on bonds about a year ago, and that proved to be, in fact, for the last 2 years, and that's proven to be quite prescient. And, for instance, the countries that issued 100-year bonds, believe it or not, Argentina did that during post-pandemic times, and so did Austria. Those bonds, because they have very long duration and they had very low interest rates, have performed absolutely abysmally. However, although many people are forecasting that interest rates are going to come down very rapidly over the next year or two, I'm not sure that's the case, and that bonds are beginning to look relatively attractive in the context of what is really sharply falling inflation, and indeed, in some cases, deflation. So in China, for instance, at the moment, you have deflation. Germany will probably have deflation because of the stagnant, if not dire, nature of its economy. Overall, I'm going to talk about the UK and how, despite all the naysayers and all the negativity and so forth, the UK stumbles along quite well, and particularly well compared to our European neighbors, who are really doing badly at the moment and are in for a very rough 2024. Because the UK is so service focused, and post-Brexit, the services have become an increasingly important part of our economy. We actually have a comparative advantage over the other large economies in Europe, and that's beginning to play out in interesting ways in our economy. So I'm quite bullish on the UK. I'm bullish on Japan. I'm bullish on the mining sector. I think that oil and gas in areas is interesting, and I'm very interested in new technologies such as fusion, such as quantum, and some of those new technologies are going to be represented at the show. And indeed, I think we've got a fantastic lineup of companies that are coming to the show this year. It will be the biggest, best, and most informative ever Master Investor.